Welcome, college fans. Welcome, college fans. This Miller Entertainment here with MillerEntertainment.com, your Sunbelt king, your Sunbelt guru. I am the straight master, and I'm going to pick your unders for you today. We had an all right week last week. We straight transparent. We're going to go straight to last week. Last week, 2-2. 2-2 is not a winning week. It's not a good week. I'm sorry I gave out Old Dominion. I mean, they got rocked in the second half versus James Madison. They was hanging them with them. I should have had the halftime point spread, but no, I didn't. I'm filming here live today in Pine Bluff. We're headed to Saracen Casino. We're filming here live today at the end of October. We gave you Old Dominion last week. It was a loser. I'm sorry to all my followers and but we're going to bounce back this week. Don't worry about it. I gave you Louisiana last week. Even though Southern Miss is one of my teams, I went against them. It's my fault. I gave you Louisiana. That was a loser. We evened it out with Troy and Marshall. I gave you Marshall and Troy. That was my 2 for 2. And don't worry about it. We're going to get back this week. It's only 4 games in the Sunbelt. We're going to go 4-0 in the Sunbelt this week. Don't worry about it. I am your Sunbelt king, and I am here. First matchup, I'm going to get to the picks. Georgia Southern, plus 1.5 versus Arkansas State, minus 1.5. They in Jonesboro. Georgia Southern is 3-4. They're 2-3-1 against the spread, and they're 5-1 to the over. So 5 out of 6 games with Georgia Southern have went over. Georgia Southern, they cover versus Georgia State. That was their last game, and they cover versus Jack State. That's a pretty good team in the Conference USA. And they pushed at Southern Miss. Southern Miss is one of the best teams in the Sunbelt this year. And Southern Miss had them on a big lead. And Georgia Southern came back. Georgia Southern came back on them. And they pushed. That's where the 2-3-1 come from, ATS. And last week, they beat Georgia State. They rivalry, and they beat them good. They beat them good. The total went over. That was a good game. Arkansas State, on the other hand, they coming in here. They got a minus 1.5. In colleges, I'm always scared of the minus 1.5. I like points. Minus 1.5 at home. So the book saying it's going to be a tight game, and Arkansas State on won 2 in a row. They covered the last 2 games as an underdog, and they won both of them. Today they come in as a short favorite. That's a difference, because Georgia Southern tough. It's going to be a good game. But you know me, I'm going with A-State. We're going to go with A-State minus the 1.5. You can buy it down to plus 2.5. But we're going to take A-State to win versus Georgia Southern. Next game up, Louisiana, team I gave y'all last week, versus Troy. And this is another 6 o'clock game. I don't know why I gave y'all my 6 o'clock games first, but that's the kind of order we going in. Louisiana come in at 2-3. They're 2-4 against the spread, and they're 3-3 with the over and under. 3 games went over, 3 games went under. The last 3 games, they're 2-1 against the spread. You know what I'm saying? They did not cover last game versus Southern Miss. And that's the game I betted on last week. I gave y'all. Louisiana didn't cover last week versus Southern Miss. But they are 2-4 against the spread. Coming in versus Troy. Troy is a Sunbelt leader. Troy coming in 5-2 overall record. They're 5-1 against the spread. They cover versus Clemson. and Troy, they uncovered the last 4 games. I mean, I ain't gonna catch no falling knife, and I ain't gonna step in front of no freight train. Sure, they play good ball. We like Troy. In that 6 o'clock game versus Louisiana versus Troy, go on lay it 8.5 with Troy and get your money. See you at the window at Saracen Casino. Next up, it's my 2:30 game. We got Louisiana Monroe versus Southern Miss. Louisiana Monroe, they got a ton of injuries. They started off, they stayed at home. They started off, with a decent Division I FBS squad, but now they're looking more like FCS. They down to their 3rd string quarterback, and the 3rd string quarterback is not any good. Probably on any team, if you're a 3rd string quarterback, you probably still have a lot to learn, and you started probably not there yet. Coming in versus Southern Miss, they're 5-2. 3-2-1 against the spread. Really 4-2-1 if you count the Jackson State game. They 3-3 to the over and under. Last 2 games on the road, they covered 1, push 1, pulling away at top of the Sunbelt. They should cover. We like Southern Miss -12.5. Book, you heard it here at millentertainment.com. It's one more game in the Sunbelt. I'm going to get it right to you. Now, this is the 11 o'clock game, so we really went in backwards order. 6 o'clock to 2:30 game, and now the last game we're going to give is this 11 o'clock game, which is going to be the first game Saturday morning. App State +14 versus Old Dominion. Old Dominion, they used to be my team. They was top 3 Sunbelt, but I think they fell out the top 3 of the Sunbelt now. I really think, I don't know what happened to them versus, I watched the game. I don't know what happened to him versus James Madison. I had them beating James Madison, and they lose by 30 or 40 points. I mean, App State coming in at 4-3. And matter of fact, Mr. G Picks gave y'all App State, and we liked App State on the show last week, but App State lost straight up as a 10.5 point favorite at home. And Sunbelt teams just don't do that. And App State, like I told, they want the same App State. But they was 3-3 against the spread, and we gave them a chance at -10.5 versus Coastal Carolina. We know Coastal Carolina is not the same team. And they lost at home versus who they lose to? App State versus Coastal Carolina as a favorite. But on the other hand, Old Dominion, they 4-3, 3-3 against the spread, and they're 4-2 versus the over and under. And what Old Dominion have done, they got blue last week at James Madison. I had James Madison. I had Old Dominion to beat James Madison, and they was singing in there in halftime, and after that, they lost it all, man. Yeah, they missed the 2 games by a half-point spread, and they got blue last week versus James Madison. Old Dominion, right now, they go into Virginia Tech and win, then get blue like that by James Madison on the road. We gonna fade Old Dominion this week, and we're gonna go back with App State. We're gonna go App State with them 14 points. We're gonna App State with them 14 points. But my Sunbelt pick of the week, my locks, is Southern Miss and Troy. So go Southern Miss, Troy. They automatic locks. You heard them here first on millentertainment.com. See you at the window.